Joss, where your dream has never been closer. Visit them at manowarhd.com. Also a local restaurant here in Lexington, Parquet Drive-In at 1230 East New Circle Road. They have great burgers, chicken, and fish. Once again, we want to thank Parquet Drive-In, Title Boxing Club Lexington, and Man O' War Harley-Davidson.
Just about set. Charles Dove making his way to the cage here. And I also did want to mention, join the conversation you see in the lower left hand of your screen, hashtag HRMMA93. And you saw during our intermission there some of those tweets that we have coming out on the night. So make sure that you yourself use that hashtag, and you might be able to see your tweet on the screen here later on tonight. Got Charles Dove here making his way down from the Cincinnati area, the Queen City, down to Lexington, 2-2 on his career. And Dove, a really interesting story. We saw him made his pro debut all the way back in 2012, and then took a 5-year break, a short 5-year break, and came back earlier this year and looked better than ever. Picked up a big win over William Ewers at Hard Rock MMA 89. So he definitely was able to get back on the winning track.
Not only is
big
Dove
win for him.
2-2 as a professional, very successful amateur career, 7-3 record. So despite his hiatus, he's back into the winning way of things. And this is a big fight for him tonight.
Representing Club MMA, you see Nicholas Hubler-Scherf in his corner.
Oh, yeah. Hubler-Scherf with his very stylish top hat.
Now his opponent is going to be Travis Connor, fighting out of Lexington, Kentucky, and 4 Seasons MMA. Travis Connor also had a great amateur record, 7-1, and then made his pro debut last year. Has a victory over Yemi Odawale, but the last time we saw Travis Connor, he was fighting Nicholas Hubler-Scherf, who is in the corner of Charles Dove here tonight.
Fell victim to that very crafty game of Hubler-Scherf with the arm-in triangle.
Yeah, and you got to think that Hubler-Scherf is giving his fighters some tips on how to deal with the huge power and strength of Travis Connor here tonight. See the 4 Seasons faithful right behind us here at Hard Rock MMA 93, and a couple of really good gyms here, Club MMA and 4 Seasons. Again, as I mention every time, 4 Seasons, the excellent coaching staff down there, Mike Seals, Michael O'Donnell, and Stoney Dennis. They've produced tons of great fighters out of that gym. But Club MMA, coming out of Cincinnati, is going to try to go 2-0 over Travis Connor here.
Travis Connor looked great, I thought, against Hubler-Scherf. Through the fight, unfortunately, Hubler-Scherf and his grappling expertise was able to come away with the victory, his crafty submission, but a lot of positives to take away from that fight for Travis Connor. Connor with a very aggressive entrance into the cage. He looks great.
Weighing in at 181 pounds, representing Club MMA from Cincinnati, Ohio, Charles Dove. And introducing his opponent, fighting out of the B2 Digital Blue Corner, weighing in at 179 pounds, representing 4 Seasons from right here in Lexington, Kentucky, Travis Connor.
180-pound catchweight bout here, Hard Rock MMA 93. Charles Dove in the blue, Travis Connor in the black. Rob Mooney is the referee, and as you heard Jason Weinel mention, these will be the 5-minute rounds of the professionals here. 3 5-minute rounds. Our title fights will be 5 5-minute rounds.
A little bit more liberal rules than the amateurs.
Of course, the elbows are now legal. See the southpaw Dove trying to make his way inside that range of Travis Conner. Dove going to try to get this fight to the ground. That is his bread and butter.
Once again, Dove out of the red corner with the red tape around his wrist. Conner out of the blue corner with the blue tape around his wrist. Conner against the cage. Dove is trying to formulate some kind of a takedown.
You see Conner with that overhook on the left hand. Not quite a full whizzer here, but if he wants to stay on his feet, he's going to need to use that.
Telling you,
Dove.
Those knees to the outside or inside of the thighs do not feel good.
And it briefly looked like Travis Conner was looking at the ref and maybe complaining about something. I'm not sure if he was maybe already asking for a separation or what that was, but Dove trying to work those knees here right as his corner asked for them. Referee Rob Mooney telling Charles Dove that he has to improve his position. You see Dove doing a good job putting that forehead in the chin of Travis Conner, making it hard for Conner to dig that underhook.
Yeah, a few boos from the crowd. Not the most exciting action thus far.
And this is the fighting style of Charles Dove. You're going to see very tactical, and he's going to try to go step by step. First step is get the fight to the ground, and that's going to be tough against a really strong guy like Travis Conner.
He's trying to win the fight. These are 5-minute rounds. No sense in exhausting yourself out of the gate, although I'm sure there's plenty of energy being exerted from both fighters.
Yeah, clinch work up against the cage, really one of the most tiring things you can do. But a lot of fighters, if you train and grind like that, if you're a wrestler with a wrestling background like Charles Dove, then that's a huge advantage over your opponent. If you can clinch fight like this for 3 5-minute rounds, this is a good way to gas out your opponent, especially a really muscle-bound guy like Travis Conner. Conner trying to get some separation there. Knee from Conner off the cage, and they separate. You hear the ovation from the crowd. Conner with a nice left hook there.
He said Charles Dove is trying to tactically win this fight at all costs. Travis Conner also sitting at 1-2, trying to bring his record up to 500 as a professional.
And Conner might have settled in a little bit more now. He might realize it's going to be really hard for Dove to take him down. He has that left arm over the head of Dove, but let's go with that. Dove now trying to hook that back leg, trying to drag Travis Conner to the ground. Throws a big knee. Conner does have the third point down, but interestingly enough, I believe Kentucky has not adopted the new rules of mixed martial arts unified rules, which means that he has to actually have a third point completely down. The fingertip does not count. Okay. But I believe Kentucky has not adopted that rule as of yet. Dove really trying to wrangle Travis Conner to the ground here, and Conner so far having none of it.
Very deliberate strategy thus far for Charles Dove. Getting him against the cage and working some knees to the thighs while trying to take Conner to the ground.
Has a big body lock here. Big bear hug from Charles Dove.
Conner is proving not to be an easy guy to take down.
You see that fingertip on the ground for Travis Conner now.
Crowd not too enthusiastic about the perceived, at least, lack of action.
Especially when it's the hometown guy,
Sure.
Really getting kind of stymied and stifled there. His back up against the cage. That's a tough position when it's a really strong guy on top of you like Charles Dove. Into the first round there.
60 seconds.
1 minute in between rounds. for the fighters to recover. You got to believe that's going to be one round there for Charles Dove. And I believe if you're in the corner of Travis Conner, they're telling him you got to sprawl and get those hips out and not let Dove grab a hold of you. You're doing a good job staying on your feet, but it's going to be hard to win the fight with your back against the cage.
Got to say, Dove, I guess, won the first round. Not the most exciting fashion. However, as we said, his tactical strategy, very deliberate, not appeasing the fan base here locally. He's from Cincinnati. But if he won the first round in a 5-round fight, that's what you want to do. See if Dove can continue his momentum from the first round.
This is definitely the old adage, the wrestler versus the striker here.
Sure. Styles make fights, and we certainly have a matchup of a couple different styles in this first professional fight of the night.
Seen many a above average wrestler defeat a really good striker just based on the matchup.
Sure.
And you see Conner just overextend and Dove immediately duck his head and grab a hold of him again. Dove really showing his strength here thus far, and the key to this fight so far, as he lets it go before I mention it, is Travis Conner with that whizzer. Now he has the whizzer on the right arm of Charles Dove. That's going to make it very difficult for Dove to get this fight to the ground. That really was the X factor when a lot of strikers who didn't necessarily have the wrestling background realized that they can use that whizzer to stay on their feet against a wrestler, and at least you're not getting put on your back on the mat. It gives you more of an opportunity to try to work your way.
So what you're
at least
seeing
from a
is
standing
we're
position.
seeing a tactical strategy from Conner, implementing a defense against Dove's very clear-cut preference for wrestling.
Yeah, and, you know, Dove, I don't believe, is going to disband his game plan at this point. I think he's going to keep trying to do the same thing, whether or not.
Why would he if he won the first round?
Exactly. And, you know, both of Dove's wins as a pro are via decision, and that means, you know, he's not afraid to go all 3 rounds and try to win it on the judges' scorecards.
5. Okay. 3.
Dove continuing to work those knees to the thigh there. Not a ton of damage being done there, and kind of surprising the referee here, you know, and the referee not separating them. I'm never a big fan of separations, but
Never?
You know, this is really, I mean, I've always believed if you want to get out of a position, you've got to, you're the one that put yourself in that position, so you've got to get out of that position, and it's not the referee's job to.
More valet tudo.
Right.
The most minimal rules possible is the best for the fans
Dove
and the fighters.
lands that right hand off the break there. A little bit of a mouse under the right eye of Charles Dove. Might have been from one of those nasty left hooks that landed in the first round.
Conner likes playing this game.
This is exactly where Travis Conner wants to be. He wants to be toe-to-toe, throwing big, heavy shots.
Cliche, but you say styles make fights, and this looks like this could be turning into a heck of a matchup. You know the fans want to see standing and banging.
And that was the thing I am curious as to why Conner hasn't really been implementing more of those elbows now that Dove is sort of ducking his head. And there's a knee from Conner off of his back. But this is, you've seen fights won by guys just blasting. You see that left side of the head for Charles Dove is wide open.
Minute 45 left in the second of 3 5-minute rounds.
Travis Conner, and you see him wincing there, using a lot of strength to try to get Charles Dove off of him, and that takes a lot of energy for a guy. You know, they always say, and I guess it's wrestler strength. You know, you learn. It feels like a guy that might be only 180 pounds might feel twice as heavy, just because you know how to use your body weight and where to put the pressure and use your hips to kind of basically stymie your opponent. And that's exactly what's happening in this fight thus far as they separate again.
You're exactly right. If you've ever grappled with somebody who's a wrestling specialist.
And the thing with Connor, too, is you see him stalking Charles Dove, but he continues to just be really aggressive and almost kind of overextending himself and leaving those right hands out there, and that gives Dove the perfect opportunity to grab him again. And to be honest with you, that may be a sign of exhaustion or him starting to slow down a little bit of the gas tank. He's just throwing those right hands and just leaving him out there, stepping through. Dove still unable to get this takedown here. But again, this is, you're in an advantageous position here. Just a few seconds left to go in round 2, and Dove may have 2 rounds in the bag thus far.
Much to the chagrin, we'll say, of the local support. Actually, you don't know how this fight will be judged, but I would agree with you that the wrestling of Dove has possibly or likely even dictated the pace of this fight.
Exactly, and I think if you're Dove's corner, you say more of the same in the third round. Maybe
why try to get cute with it?
Maybe let's dump him on his butt and